it in.
Hello everybody out there. How's it going? Welcome back to my channel. Today I wanted to do a bit of a different video. I wanted to just kind of sit here and chat about a few things that have been on my mind, a couple of things that I've been going through, human to human, little heart to heart. And what I want to talk about today is burnout, my experience with burnout, something that kind of crept up on me fairly recently over the past kind of few months. Sort of started to get a little bit worse and worse. I kind of reached the pinnacle of it. To share a little bit of just brief backstory here, I became self-employed last year. I started running my online business, YouTube being a part of that, last summer, which was so exciting. And I guess, with that, that milestone, that exciting time, I kind of took it as my opportunity to really hustle as much as possible and to reach success. What I had thought of success being just being really busy and doing a lot of things, and as a result, I put a lot on my plate. Even before last year, when I became self-employed, I was working multiple jobs while simultaneously building my business. I was working 4 jobs at one point, and even earlier this year, I was still doing a little bit of contract work as a nutritionist on the side. A big part of my life over the past year has been to overcome fears and to grow as a person and to explore my discomfort, because that is how we grow a lot of the time. And I stand behind that. I really think that that's important, to explore things that frighten us a little bit and to grow in that way and to gain confidence. And I'm glad that I did. I'm glad that I pushed myself so much, because I did overcome a lot, and I gained a lot of confidence, and I learned a lot. But it did all catch up with me eventually, which honestly, I never really thought I would ever experience burnout. I have heard about it. I've heard of others experiencing it, especially in the world of YouTube and social media. You hear of creator burnout, and I could empathize with those people, but I just never thought that it would happen to me because of how much I love what I do. And, I really learned the hard way that you can love what you do, but still lead yourself to burnout. So my workload was heavy, really heavy. I just was running an online business, and still am, all by myself, everything that comes along with that. So everything from brainstorming and scripting and filming and editing and uploading YouTube videos and other content, and keeping up with an online community of managing that, right? Messages and comments and email and brand partnerships and negotiating those things. I also decided to add to the mix creating and launching an online program, which was a huge dream of mine, and I was very proud of myself that I did, but the workload was intense. And aside from all of that, just the day-to-day kind of back-end tasks of managing an online business, like, website maintenance and troubleshooting and email marketing and just day-to-day research and blogging and writing and photography and recipe creation, testing. I started to notice that I was experiencing depression, like more frequent bouts of depression, which is pretty unusual for me. I have experienced depression in the past, but this was definitely, it was starting to become more frequent. I was feeling, physically exhausted, just lethargy and listless and mentally exhausted as well. And I was starting to feel like I couldn't keep up with all of the tasks on my to-do list, no matter how small or insignificant they were. It was starting to feel insurmountable. I didn't want to be alone. Like, working from home means I'm alone a lot. Whereas in the past, I had coworkers that I had, really strong relationships with. And Anyhow, so things were going a little weirdly for me. I was like not understanding what was going on. It was unusual for me to be so unproductive, or at least, I was still managing to get work done, but it was becoming so difficult for me and mentally taxing. And I didn't understand why, because again, I kept coming back to the idea that I love my work so much. I love what I do, and I didn't understand why it was so difficult. And I kind of kept seeking elsewhere for answers, like, is there something wrong with my thyroid? Is, my iron low? And all of those kinds of things. And so actually at the end of last month, what happened was I kind of reached a breaking point. I broke down. Like I was sobbing. I couldn't stop myself from crying. And I knew I needed to make some changes. Like I knew that this was a breaking point of some sort. And so I decided then, a couple of weeks ago, that I was going to take some time off. Nothing revolutionary. Taking time off is pretty standard for most people who work. But I felt like I really needed to give myself a good, solid break. So I also took time off of social media as well. All social media platforms. And I feel like that was a pretty big part of my break, because it made quite a difference. And I feel like I've learned a lot, even just in the realm of social media there too, and how much it was impacting me. So what happened was I had an epiphany. That not only do I not want to live like that or work like that, putting so much on my plate and having such a hectic workload, but I didn't need to. I had this epiphany that I was like, why am I spreading myself so thin? I don't need to do this. And on top of that, I have so much around me that I have kind of created for myself and worked towards, and I felt like I wasn't living it. I wasn't living my life. I was so caught up in all of these other things and just the rat race and in the spiral of doing, onto the next thing, and not living my life. And the thing is that it's kind of the nature of the beast when you have a business that revolves around social media. And I have to point out here that, again, like I have mentioned, I love what I do. I love it so much. My mission from early on, from the very beginning, has always been to just inspire people and educate people. And social media allows you to do that at a very large scale. You can reach so many people all around the world, and that is what I love about it, having that sense of kind of that community and interacting with others and just making a difference in the world in some way has always been my goal. Although I say in some way, but my goal has always been to make a difference for people to live healthier and to live simpler lives, and share content that resonates with people in those ways. So that's why I love what I do, because I feel it gives me purpose, and I have fulfillment in the work that I do, and I also get to be really creative doing it. And it was a dream of mine to be able to turn my passions into a career, which I did. But any line of work has advantages and disadvantages, and I guess the disadvantage to having a job that is built on social media is that, content that is created gets old pretty quickly. That's just kind of the nature of it, right? So you're always in this cycle of creating, sharing it, and moving on to the next thing. Creating, sharing, and, after you create a piece of content or work that you have spent hours or days editing and working on and all of that, you immediately are like, okay, what is the next thing that I need to create? I need to keep up. You got to keep up, right? That's kind of how it goes. And, ask anyone in the world of online marketing or building an online business, one of the keys is consistency, right? Showing up and being there and being consistent. And I was as deep into that mindset as I could possibly go. And it is important. In many things in life, it's important to be consistent with those things and I'm not denying that, but I definitely just worked myself to the bone. Like I wasn't giving myself any breaks. And of course I have taken, vacations in the past, or, gone away on trips and that. But again, the nature of a business that's built on social media is that you can go on a vacation, but you're still taking photos, or you're still checking your stats, or you're still scrolling, you're still you're still brainstorming video ideas or captions, or it's really hard to shut off when you kind of always have to be on. Initially, on my little break, I didn't take a huge break, I just took a couple weeks off, but during the first few days, I actually felt quite uneasy because it was so foreign to me to not check my phone. Like I had to catch myself. It's just weird because it becomes habitual to create content. It becomes addictive to be in that cycle at all times for so many years. So yeah, I didn't feel totally rejuvenated at first, but I eventually was able to just be like, okay, this is what I'm doing. I am taking a break. And I was able to really start to make space in my head. Like my brain just opened up, and I started to explore and revisit some of my old passions that were sort of put on the back burner in my rat race to work. Things like writing and poetry are things that really mean a lot to me and are very therapeutic for me. So I explored those, and I just revisited the things that were big inspirations to me, a decade ago, before I even started a YouTube channel or studied nutrition. There were a few things that were the catalyst for my becoming an entrepreneur in the first place. You can probably hear the fridge making ridiculous noises right now. I also stopped taking my phone with me everywhere. I stopped taking photos of everything that I was doing. I really just used my phone for listening to audiobooks and podcasts, and I practiced gratitude. I also let myself be bored. The topic of boredom is something that I'd like to make a whole separate video on, because that was profound. Letting myself truly be bored and not filling the time with gotta grab my phone or what have you. But another thing that I did that has been life-changing almost is I started to practice meditation every single day, and just having those moments of silence and sitting with myself and with my thoughts and really focusing on the present moment has been profound. Sometimes the things that we need are simple, and that was all I needed. I didn't need to go on I didn't need to take time off and go on some luxurious vacation or go do some elaborate traveling. I just needed to slow down. I slowed down. I took things off of my plate. I set boundaries for myself, and I just reevaluated my life. And I only took a couple weeks off, nothing crazy, but it didn't take long before I started to notice drastic improvements in my well-being and in my mental well-being, my mental health, and my creativity came back to me very quickly, and sources of inspiration where I was finding all over the place, and just feeling like myself again. So all this being said, I really wanted to sit down and chat about this, just to share my experience with it and kind of a little bit of what I have learned along the way, and how important it is to put your mental health first and to set boundaries, especially in today's world where everything is so fast-paced and instant, and we're so used to the noise and filling our time with things and doing things, and it's just so important that we make space for taking care of ourselves. And I know we hear about that left, right, and center, that self-care is so important and this and that, and but it really is. And I hope that if anything, you don't have to be self-employed to hopefully to relate to this video. And even, with burnout, I mean, it's not just entrepreneurs who experience it. You can be a student and experience burnout. You know, you can be in school, you can be a stay-at-home mom, you can be, burnout it can happen to anyone and everyone. And so I hope that this video is resonant for you in some way, and that you can take this as a reminder to slow down if you know that you need to. I know that for myself going forward, more than anything, there are a number of lifestyle changes that I have to make, absolutely have to make. A lot of those being things that I've shared in this video, just slowing down in general. And I mean, I love what I do. I love what I do so much. It's just a matter of how can I rejig things a little bit and find a better balance, kind of better work-life balance, which is hard to do. I don't think that we can ever have perfect balance, like work-life balance. It's a constant, system of evaluating how we're feeling, where we're at, what needs to change, what needs to shift. It's a constant juggle. And we can't love every single thing about our jobs, no matter what line of work you're in. You can't love every single thing about it. There are always going to be things that are kind of like, this is kind of tedious, or certain things can become monotonous. Of course, if you are absolutely despise the work that you do and you hate your job, then some more significant changes need to be made. But I think for most of us, it's just a matter of like, okay, I need to take a step back and I need to find the balance that works for me. And that's definitely where I was at. So that's what I wanted to share in this video today, a little heart-to-heart chat. And, I definitely feel more inspired than ever to share a lot of the things that I've been learning, and also just to be myself a little bit more. I think that that's why I wanted to do a bit of a sit-down video, just to, I just want to do things the way that I want to do them. And please leave me a comment below if you feel like you can relate to this, or if you have your own stories of kind of burnout or overwhelm, or spreading yourself too thin. And I will see you very, very soon.